Right. So our article was titled "General Mills Says Demand Rises as Consumers Stockpile." My name is Abel.
And I'm Mitchell Phelps.
All right. So first and foremost, a little bit back information on General Mills. It was founded in Minneapolis, Minnesota in 1856 as the Minneapolis Milling Company. It officially became General Mills in 1928 when then President James Ford Bell merged the company with 28 other mills in the area. And they pretty much started out as um, solely on grains. So any food that's made from grains is where they initially started out from. So their more popular products are in the fruit and grain snacks products, ready to eat cereals, ready to eat meals. And they started branching out into yogurt and pet food more recently, as well as premium ice cream. So a lot of their more popular products are Cheerios, Nature Valley, granola bars, Yoplait yogurt, Hamburger Helpers. So they're really familiar names that you pass every day in different grocery stores. They have 79 production and distribution facilities across the world. Most of them are in the United States, but they range from the Asian Pacific areas to Europe to even some facilities in Africa. So they are really a worldwide company and really familiarized across the world. Um, a little bit more. Their net sales in 2019 was $16.9 billion. This was still an increase from 2018, where it was 15.7 billion. And this just proves to show that they uh, they have been able to offer a dividend to their investors every year consecutively since their incorporation, which in total is 91 years now. Their current dividend is $1.96 per share. Um, and then, as you can see, that most of their business is done in North American retail. Um, they do they do have some hand in the convenience store region or industry, as well as hand in other countries. But again, most of it comes from their primary lines, which are snack bars, cereal, things like that in the U.S. So one thing that I thought was kind of interesting is this graph on the bottom right, which is their stock price over the past 3 months. And as many of us know, almost every industry is getting impacted negatively by the coronavirus and the widespread impact of it. So as you can see, um, around the beginning time of the virus, they were around $55 per share, and they did see some volatility, but it did bounce back up and didn't really sway too much from their average price, um, which kind of proves that even in a time of crisis, they are still operating near their normal capacity. But as the article goes to see or goes in depth, um, they don't really know how long this will last or how long what the long-term impact of these are. So as far as like a summary for the article, again, with the widespread impact of this virus, a lot of people are being forced and urged to stay at home, which is causing them to and closing a lot of restaurants and other food establishments across the world. So consumers are really trying to stockpile and hoard as much food as they can at home, with the impact being that they have to start staying at home now. One
So it'll
thing,
not only be the hoarding piece, but it'll be because people aren't going out to eat, they're going to buy more of the product from General Mills to eat at home. So there's two things going on.
exactly, yeah. So not only are the restaurants closed, so they can't really eat other food, other prepared food. They're planning on this to happen or to, you know, as the second quote says or bullet point, their chief executive Jeff Harmening said that it's evolving so quickly. We don't know the depth and we don't know the duration. So
Hmm.
they're trying to stockpile as much now before any shortages may come up in the future, and they just want to kind of be ahead of the curve as far as that's concerned.
Okay, so but will this? Do you think if some of this is driven by the fact that people are eating at home and not going out? Do you think if we have a longer recession, will that change people's behavior that they won't go out to eat and they'll be more likely to cook at home?
I believe so, just because again we don't know. This is the first time that something like this has impacted the whole world at the same time, every different class, every different region. So I think that people will start to be more aware if something like this does happen in the future, from both the
Hmm.
side and the company side. How will they? What plans will they have in place to be able to handle something like this in the future?
Okay.
So again, to continue on, since the beginning of March, they have experienced that retailers across North America and Europe have been purchasing more of their products. So again, while a lot of different places are being hit hard with lower sales and lower traffic to their establishments, um, General Mills, being that most of their products are non-perishable, canned soups, dry foods, they are experiencing higher spikes in those sales because people are starting to hoard these a little bit. Um, and yeah, as they can see, some issues that they're facing right now is if they'll be able to keep up with this increased demand. How long will this surge in demand last? And if they have any plans set in place to be able to handle this now or in any future events. Um, Again, some of the products that are in high demand right now, again, are cereals. Some of their more popular brands are Cheerios, Lucky Charms, Wheaties. Um, Ingredients for baking goods, which are flour, other different spices, and other different seasonings. Again, grain and fruit snacks, these tend to have a long shelf life, doesn't really expire too quickly. And it is, at least for the granola snacks, they are sometimes deemed a little bit more healthier. So it is a healthier long-term product to be able to have. And then again, canned soups and different meal additives such as like Hunter Helper to be able to stock those up a bit. And before,
Okay, question for both of you guys. Have either of you or your families bought any of this long shelf life stuff as you began this whatever we're doing?
I know
Is
I
it
have like I've bought like a lot of cereal and stuff like that.
okay?
yeah, and I probably different like maybe not their specific brands, but across the board, yeah, definitely have tried to at least stock up as much as I can. But I'm just one person here, so I don't really need too much.
Okay,
hmm So,
but you wanted to both of you wanted to be prepared.
of course, yeah, especially as things move forward, like starting to see these things, disappear in different grocery stores. It kind of just psychologically makes me feel like maybe I'm behind a little bit, which makes me want to buy more, but I don't know if that's the correct way of going about it.
Okay,
So
I
yeah,
don't know if there is a right or wrong answer.
right, and I think that's what their issue is too, because they believe that they're able to sustain themselves right now, but you know this won't last forever. So I think that they have to properly prepare themselves, for when this high demand does go away, or how they'll be able to handle this in the future. So yes, that's
Yeah,
why.
it could be just a blip that once everybody is back to normal, they won't need to buy as much of this. So even though I might use cereal over I eat cereal almost every morning. So if I bought enough for 3 months, and this is over in a month, I'm not going to buy any cereal for the 2 months after that. So it could be just a blip.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is true.
So yeah, so that's kind of how they thought about this as well. Is that they again they're seeing a lot more of their perishable food items being bought up more now too. And even though these don't last as long, again, people are just almost in a panic trying to get whatever they can, whatever they think they will need, and stock it up now. And just like you said, if they have this blip right now where they are buying so much, if General Mills continues to operate their normal capacity, um, estimating that these sales will still last like this, and all of a sudden, people they shop for 3 months and they don't go back to shop for 3 months. You kind of need to spread these sales as if they're across those 3 months rather than that's just how much you're getting right now and moving forward with that assumption. So
Hmm.
I think that's the point that they're at right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So okay. So like what we're seeing with this pandemic is there's been a huge shift in the consumer behavior, and we kind of talked about it already. And so like initially when the pandemic broke out, people were stockpiling goods because they don't want to frequently go to the grocery stores anymore. They want to go once and then not have to go again for at least 2 months. And we've touched on that. And so since they don't want to come to the grocery stores frequently, they're buying these long shelf life goods like the grains. And then with restaurant closures, people are now starting to buy more of their ready-to-eat meals and their perishable products. And then once people start losing their jobs, they're going to shift to these cheaper brands, which General Mills has a ton of cheaper brands to choose from.
Ah.
I think you can go to the next one. Yeah, and so this has been posing a lot of challenges for General Mills, and we've touched on a couple of those already. And so the big one is producing enough to meet the consumer demand. And by doing that, they've been pretty much operating 24/7 in their factories. They have workers coming in cycled shifts because they're trying to maintain the social distancing aspect while also maintaining the 24/7 operation. And they're also limiting.
I didn't think about that for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really a good point.
Like they have a staggered lunch break so that like their employees aren't like in the same room at the same time. It's pretty cool how they're dealing with this situation. And then they're also limiting the variation of the goods, say like flavored yogurts. They're like avoiding stuff like that, and they're focusing on like generic like plain yogurt foods or like just plain foods in general, so they can just keep up capacity to meet the demand for just like immediate food for like families and stuff like that. And then another challenge is getting food to their buyers. So that's like their fleet distributing all this product, all these bulk foods, because they're going so fast because people are just stocking up. And then also getting the resources they need to maintain peak capacity. And this is really from their suppliers, because as soon as their suppliers get strained or they have to shut down because of coronavirus, they're no longer going to keep up this 24/7 operation for their factories.
Mm.
And then they need to properly prepare for the impact that they'll have after this initial surge. Like how do they scale back, or how do they like keep scaling up depending on the uncertainty of the situation, which is kind of a day-to-day process because it's a lot of unknowns right now.
Hmm.
And so what we recommend is kind of what they've already been doing is analyzing what products are in the highest and lowest demand, and like um, changing how they operate to meet those highs and lows. And another thing would be to diversify their supply chain. Like, don't become too over reliant on certain suppliers, because if they have to shut down, that immediately halts their production. And also spread out their location of suppliers. So if like, say one side of the country gets hit really bad, the other half isn't as bad, they can use that to handle the capacity issues. And then also organize their fleet to handle distribution better. Get more trucks or have more distribution centers so they're able to get their product to their buyers quicker. And then the ideas we have to stimulate the consumer demand is what General Mills can do is they can promote like bulk purchases of their product as soon as they like are able to produce enough to satisfy everyone. And then they could also have like a monthly subscription for products. So it's kind of like a loot box of like their cereals or something like that, where you can just mail it to their customers instead of them having to go pick it up from a grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of go hand in hand with like developing online ordering options. And then they could also focus more on long shelf life products, because if we get hit with a similar situation as this, like in the future, and they have more shelf life or long shelf life products, they can capitalize on that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And also, right now is like a critical time for General Mills to capitalize on their cheaper brands, because the longer this goes on, and the more the economy slows down, people are losing their jobs. They're not gonna have a lot of money, and General Mills has a lot of like cheap brands to choose from that people might be first-time buyers of, and now is the time where they might continue buying even after the pandemic settles down.
What do you think? I mean, we know that there's still a lot of unknown here. What do you think how long do you think this is going to go on? Do you think will it happen again? Will we see more of these pandemics, do you think? And how might it change how people acquire food? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking we're going to see a shift more to, you know how there's that Instacart app where you can kind of you pick and choose on your phone, and then you can go and pick up from the store. I think that's going to be like a big shift. And also just like online ordering, like Amazon, they acquired Whole Foods. I think they're going to get into like just shipping you just a bundle of like goods every month or so, like on a recurring basis.
Okay. So some fundamental shifts.
Yeah.
Abel, your thoughts? How long is this going to last?
I think that it'll definitely last longer than what we think it may be.
Okay.
I'm thinking maybe at least until September, October-ish, as far
Okay.
as actual lockdown goes. But again, we will still feel the effects afterwards. So we don't know the lasting effects. We don't know which industries won't be able to bounce back. So there's just so much uncertainty that causes people to react in a certain way. Which again, we don't know even how people will react to this situation. So I think it's a lot of uncertainty, and you have to just try to take it from the most reasonable manner, I guess.
What did you both learn from doing this?
I personally learned that maybe it is good to be prepared, but at the same time, um, I think that it's a little bit excessive. I do understand the importance of being well off in a sense like this as far as food goes. Um, I think that it may be causing a little bit more harm um, than it is doing good at this point.
It has affected you personally, Abel, because were you still working as a server?
Yeah, no, actually, yeah, they told me I was supposed to be working more over the spring break. Obviously, I didn't have any class or anything, so I was supposed to be working a little bit more. And Monday of spring break is when the governor closed down all restaurants and gyms and movie theaters. So um, it has directly impacted me like that. And I don't really work at a big restaurant or anything. So it's a locally owned restaurant. So even to that aspect, they went from making a few $1,000s a day to barely making $1,000 a week at this point. So it, again, since this is affecting them during this time, I don't know how the lasting effects will be when the restaurant does open back up and if they'll be able to keep it fully staffed as they have been, and if they'll be able to get their ingredients and food at a decent price. So yeah, it's definitely something I have to keep up with. But
So now, when this is all done, do you think when you're back to work and everything, you're going to change your spending patterns to prepare for something like this again?
I would definitely say I am. I think just overall, if I if this could happen, it could happen again. Is the way that I look. Or if this did happen, it could happen again. Is the way that I look at it. So
Okay.
yeah, probably try to keep a little bit more money in savings, or try to keep a stockpile over here just regularly. See if I could be able to keep up with it at that point.
Okay. Good. Good points. Mitchell, anything?
Like, what do you mean?
Any closing comments?
Oh, I mean, I think General Mills is a pretty good company. Like, they're smart. I think they're smart with how they're handling the situation, like how they shifted their how they run their factory, how they're operating, and also how they're responding to the developing situations with what consumers need, what they want, and how they're getting it to their suppliers.
Okay. Good. Okay. Go ahead.
All right, just the areas of the CPA or CFA exam that this current events presentation has taught us. That's why Diego, the business environment and concept section, which again in area 2 they apply different concepts and analysis. Um, these topics right here do kind of tie into how this whole pandemic has been affecting different industries. So everything from financial risk management to market influences, even financial management, what they do with their working capital, different valuation and decision models. So all these do kind of tie into what General Mills has to do at this point. And then again, the CFA, different ethical standards, economics, quantitative methods, just to try to all those building on those skills will be able to help in a situation like this. That was it.
Okay. Good job.
All right, thank you.